Hey guys, good morning. This is Mark Beauclair. I hope that all is well. Today we'll be going through Mark chapter 6, verse 47 through 50. In the previous section, we see that the disciples, they had just participated in a supernatural miracle where they fed 5,000 people or more with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Now, that should have shown them that Jesus was God on earth, but we see they didn't understand it. It just didn't register with them. So Jesus is going to make them know it by a different way. He's going to take them out on the Sea of Galilee to show them who he is. The Sea of Galilee, it had a unique geography where it was below sea level. And it would have different storms that would just pop up out of nowhere, because when the warm air would rise, the cold air would come down, and when they would collide, it would just form a huge storm. So Jesus, knowing all of this, he's setting them up in a way to know him more than they could have otherwise. So let's start in verse 47, which it says, "Now when evening came, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. Then he saw them straining at rowing, for the wind was against them. Now about the 4th watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea, and would have passed them by. And when they saw him walking on the sea, they supposed it was a ghost and cried out. For they all saw him and were troubled. But immediately he talked with them and said to them, 'Be of good cheer, it is I, do not be afraid.'" So verse 47, we see a couple of things. We see the evening. So the evening was the first watch, which was 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on a Roman time frame. Also, we see that the boat was in the middle of the sea. So the boat had made it out to 3 or 4 miles away from the shore, because the Sea of Galilee is only 8 miles wide. And we see that Jesus was alone on the land. What was he doing? He was praying, and he was watching them. But also, we see that Jesus knows that something is going to happen. This is the only way that he can show them who he is. And he sends them out into a storm, which we see in the next verse, which is verse 48. We see it says that he saw them straining at rowing. So he saw what was going on. He knew what was going on. And we see it was about the wind was against them. So they're in this huge storm, and Jesus sent them into a storm. Does that make some of us uncomfortable? No, it shouldn't, because they were in the will of God. I don't know where people get the fact that they say if we're obedient to God, if we're doing everything the right way, that we won't have trials, we won't have storms or tribulations. The Bible tells us, on the contrary, that we will have trials, we will have tribulations and go through things. It won't be smooth sailing. And God does that for a reason. He knows that when we go through trials, he knows that they keep us grounded. They keep us praying to him. And most of all, they keep us dependent upon him instead of ourselves. So in verse 48, like I said, we see him, he sees them, but he doesn't go after them immediately. He waits until the 4th watch. So he sees them out there for at least 8 hours, rowing, and just tired, exhausted. We're conditioned for quickness, but God doesn't work like that, because if we go through a trial and he gets us through it immediately, it doesn't have a lasting effect, and God is about the lasting effect rather than our temporary comfort. So we see he wasn't trying to be mean by keeping them out there. He had a purpose for it. And we see, based up off of that when we go through a situation, we know it's only him who got us through it, and also that made us come out of it. It's all because of him. It's not because of us. So verse 49, we see the end of verse 48, we see he came walking on the sea. So that would have been just like if he was on land. That was supernatural. And it says that he would have passed them by. Now, that reminds me of Moses when God's glory came by. Jesus was showing that same thing. It was his glory, and he wanted them to see that so that they could understand that this was the supernatural thing that no man could do. So he was showing his deity. Now, verse 49, it says that they supposed it was a ghost, and they cried out. These are seasoned fishermen. So they understand storms. They had been in storms, but this was something that was totally different. And sometimes God will bring a storm in our lives to show exactly who he is. It'll be a different one than we've ever gone through, but it's beneficial. We see also, it says that immediately he talked with them. This reminds me of Mary Magdalene at the tomb, because it was his voice that she recognized. It was Jesus' voice that they recognized. It calmed them down because Jesus said something else. Be of good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid, which means take courage. I am, in the Greek, is what it is I means. It is him saying, I am God. This is my deity. Don't be afraid. Now, the takeaway from all of this is the disciples, they had to understand who Jesus was, just like us. We have to understand who Jesus is, because we can learn a lesson that when it comes to God, he knows every situation that we're going through, every storm. We also know that we're never out of his reach. And also, we can understand that he cares for us through it all. So we can depend on him for that confidence to get us through the storm. And also, we can depend on him in the good times. We are never alone. So I just want you guys to just take this as an encouragement, and I hope that it bless you. All right, guys, have a good day.